And welcome back to another CBB Talk with your boy, Will Dickinson. We're here on a Monday after our loaded weekend of college basketball. We had a good episode on Friday where we were talking about all the games coming up. We said it was going to be a great weekend, and we didn't get disappointed. Let's start this off. We're just talking about some games. Let's talk about Saturday, the biggest game. Number one fell. It was Houston against Alabama. Houston coming in this game, the number one defense in the country, who is averaging around 50 points, I think. The opponents are scoring on them, and they allow 71 to Alabama. Jane Bradley off the bench. Quinn Lee was kind of struggling, comes up with 12 points. Brandon Miller, even though he didn't make a field goal in this game, you still felt his presence. This dude just submits himself, I think, as a lottery pick, could be jumping higher as we get into SEC play. This guy is special. This Alabama team is young. They play a lot of freshmen. At a point, there was 4 or 5 freshmen on the court for Alabama. Houston really just was back and forth in this game, and then at the end, they just couldn't get anything to go down. Sasser struggles, which when your star player doesn't play a great game, that's gonna hurt. But the Houston's still a great team in my opinion. They call a hard one at home to Alabama, which is one that you don't want to lose when you're an elite team like that. It sucks for them because again, this was a big resume building win. This was really their first test they got all year. But again, Houston's still gonna be good. But Alabama really showed they are, I think, maybe the best team in the SEC. Again, they're younger. They're a younger team. They don't have a lot of proven guys on that team. But again, they played really well. Bradley off the bench was huge. Brandon Miller wasn't great, but they had good games. They're all around team just played really good. Again, they got guys that throw at them. They're a deeper team, and Nate Oates knows how to coach this team. Where they're not even hitting their ceiling yet. They're the first team I think since Duke in the '60s. I can't remember the exact year to beat 2 AP number 1 teams before New Year's in a season. Again, Carolina Power wasn't the best team in the beating because they already lost the game. But Alabama's done it. They beat Houston on the road, a big statement win. And now Houston's dropped in the poll, we'll get to later. And Bama's actually above them, which I'm pretty sure Bama's above them, but I think that we'll see at the end. Penn State ends up knocking out Illinois, but the big story was the post-game conference. Not conference, I guess, like press conference. There you go. Brad Underwood went on a tear on their players. He went on a rant against them saying the lack of leadership was not there. It was zero. When they asked about Terrence Shannon's leadership, this was this month. Are you serious, coach? You just gave him a Illinois. What's up? You go on being the number 2 team in the country in Madison Square Garden, under the lights, look great, look phenomenal, and then you go home against Penn State and get destroyed. Again, Penn State's a good team. They're arguably a tournament team. Jalen Pickett's a stud. This dude can do everything on the court they want. But apparently no leadership from Brownwood. I don't know if that starts with coaching. Apparently, he's saying he's doing what he needs to. He needs to be that now main leader. But apparently, there's no player leadership. This Illinois team showed their potential when they beat Texas. But yeah, they're still young. They're real young. Coleman Hawkins and Terrence Shannon are really the only experienced guys on that roster. But they're still really good. They're still one of the better teams in the Big Ten. But we'll see where they can go from there because Brad Underwood was not happy at all. Again, Penn State is still really good. They're 7-3, a contender in the Big Ten. And Illinois now is 7-3. They've lost to Penn State at home, a neutral against Virginia, which is a fine loss, and at Maryland, fine loss. Those are not terrible losses, but they're still improving, inconsistent. But they beat Texas, they beat UCLA, they beat Baylor, I think. Did they beat Baylor? Actually, I'm not sure if they beat Baylor. Actually, they didn't beat Baylor. I lied. They were in the same tournament as Baylor. The Virginia won. Auburn lost their first game. Again, I can't remember what I said on the Friday episode, but I'm pretty sure I was calling them frauds, which they kind of showed the guards for Auburn who were there last year, Katie Johnson, um, Wendell Green, Zep Jasper. They just haven't taken that next step. When you lose a guy like Jabari Smith and then Walker Kessler, your two best players from last year, I mean, it's gonna be hard to beat that elite team. But again, they don't have a guy yet. They have small guards. They take a lot of crazy shots. Even like last year, that's what they did. That's why I wasn't so high on Auburn last year. And Memphis just came in and just beat them hard. Kendrick Davis, the transfer, dude was a stud, and he showed why with 27 points. Even John Moran had a tweet about him saying, I see you, Kendrick Davis. You were hooping. The game wasn't Memphis. But yeah, I mean, just Auburn first loss. The first real test against a real high end tournament caliber opponent, and it showed. They lost the game. Auburn's got to bounce back. Kansas goes into Missouri. Missouri's undefeated. This game was what to say. Missouri's breaking out party. We'll see if they can upset their rival. That did not happen. I am sorry to Missouri fans out there, for the people of the whole state of Missouri, because you want to beat Kansas, and that was just embarrassing. Jalen Wilson, 24. Kevin McCullough, 21. KJ Adams, breakout performance, 19. And Grady Dick with 16. The whole starting line for Kansas played great. Devon Harris, the leader of that guard. Again, Kansas is a small team. They don't have a dominant big, which if they go against a team like Arizona, Indiana, teams like that with good bigs, I think, or Purdue, they're gonna have a struggle against, because KJMs is a smaller five they play. But again, this is a breakout performance of them. Kansas looks so good. They did fall to Tennessee. Again, Tennessee's defense is the best in the country. We'll get to them later. But yeah, they're still there. They're back at the top like always. They're gonna be another team, higher seed in the tournament, maybe the best team in the Big 12. They're gonna be there at the top of the league, and we'll see them in March for sure. But can't wait when they play Kentucky later this year. One of the most anticipated games also on that Saturday was Arizona and Indiana. And I think I called this perfectly. I said on the Friday episode, I think Arizona's going to win this game because they have the bigs to throw at Trace Jackson Davis. And that's what they did. Omar Ballo, the junior transfer from Gonzaga, is a breakout star. He finishes so well at the rim. He's a great defender, and he can play great along Turbellis, who it's tough. Tommy Lloyd's turn around college basketball, because usually now the trend is, you go one big, four out, one in shooters, and Arizona's playing two bigs that aren't great shooters. Tubelis, yes, he can stretch the floor a little bit. Ballin, not so much, but they play so well. They run up and down the court. They're the best offense in the nation. Again, the transfer, Courtney Ramey. This team, losing 3 NBA players last year, they've came back. Tommy Lloyd's proven that even in his second year, he's one of the best coaches in college basketball. Indiana, my opinion didn't change that much on them. I think this was a tough matchup for them. They didn't have Jalen Hood-Schifino, their star freshman. That's going to affect the game. Trace Jackson Davis didn't have a good game. They got it close. They made a game of runs, but they just were always behind. They could never get over the hump, get over the edge to beat Arizona. But we'll see. Again, they've beat Carolina this year. We'll see where they rank in the Big Ten, because the Big Ten this year is just, it's such a tight race. Purdue at the top, and then a lot of teams that are very solid afterwards. And then some other notable games from Saturday. Creighton loses again. That's 4 in a row for Creighton. After coming off Maui, losing that championship game, you're still thinking this team's a top 10 caliber team. They look so good in Maui. And then they've lost now 3 more after that. Again, they lose to BYU. They didn't have Ryan Kalkbrenner, which, again, that's probably the reason they lost. I didn't have their star big. Kalumu goes crazy, fouls out early. We'll see where Creighton's at. They got to turn around, and they play Arizona State in their next game, who's looking really good this year. I'm pretty sure they're 9-1, 8-1. But we'll see. Creighton's definitely got to win that game, though. It's just disappointing right now how they're playing after coming out and being a top 10 team in the beginning of the year. Xavier beats their rival Cincinnati. Sean Miller gets the advantage over the other Miller. St. Mary's beats San Diego State. That's a statement win for St. Mary's. going into WCC play soon. They've proven themselves as probably the second best team behind Gonzaga, a team that wants to make the tournament. You got to win this game. San Diego State struggled. The real only big real win it was against Ohio State and Maui. Then they went 1-2 there. It's just they lost to Arkansas. The team is not. It was a little overhyped, maybe you could say, going into the season. They're expecting to be the best team in the Mountain West, and we'll still see if they can be, but St. Mary's gets a statement win there. Again, Mountain West is looking really solid this year. Utah State's still undefeated, and UNLV still undefeated, so that conference is going to be really tough and see who can pull that one out. Purdue stays undefeated against Nebraska. Nebraska fans may say this is a bad ref game. I would agree. They really shut down Zach Edey. He was great on the defensive end. On the offensive end, they were surrounding him. They were making it difficult for him. He only finished with 13 points. Nebraska played really well. They hit a big 3 or 4 in the OT. They just couldn't pull it off at the end. The refs helped Purdue, but the Fletcher Loyal, the freshman guard, these freshman guards for Purdue have came out of nowhere, and that's for the reason. Yes, Zach Edey may be the best player in the country, but just because you're the best player in the country doesn't mean you're going to be the best team in the country. And the younger guards, Mason Gills, players like this is just a reason why Purdue is such an all-around good team, and they got that star player, Zach Edey. Miami, my most underrated team in the country. They just snuck into the poll at 25 this week. I'm sorry. I don't understand how this team is so underrated. They brought back Isaiah Wong. They brought in Nigel Pack, Miller. This team was an Elite 8 team last year. They really only lost McGusty and Jim Lanera, one of the best coaches in college basketball, brings this team and is now a top 25 team, one of the better teams in the ACC. They beat NC State after coming back. No, NC State came back on them. Miami pulls it out. This Miami team and Virginia Tech, who got a win on Sunday against Oklahoma State. These two teams I feel like are very underrated. They only have one loss on the year. The ACC may be it's a weak bottom, but the top I think is strong with Virginia, Duke, Miami, Virginia Tech, and still North Carolina, who struggled, but you know how good their potential is. And then Arkansas beats Oklahoma. Yes, they lost Brazilla, or Brazil. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I know the biggest, but the guards have been huge for them. Ricky canceled the transfer. This dude's been amazing for them. It's been their best player unsuspectingly, but Nick Smith is still getting back to, full strength. Still looks really good there. And Anthony Black. These two guards again are really good. And that's why Arkansas, again, may be the best team in the SEC. This is a tough SEC race. Kentucky got a little push from Yale. Wins. Big game from Sheboygan. This SEC is very tight. Mississippi State still undefeated. We'll see how long that can last going into SEC play. We got to see how legit they are against a real quality opponent. But they beat Marquette. They beat good teams. But yeah, so the Saturday was really good. We'll get into Sunday after a little break because my mouth is dry as hell. Sunday had 2 real notable games, and it started off with one that was disgusting to watch. Tennessee and Maryland. Of course, I wasn't too locked in on the basketball side. Again, I watched a little bit of this game because it was the 4:00 games for NFL, but I was watching a lot of NFL. Even though the Commanders, Redskins, whatever you want to call them, didn't play, it was pretty much a win. We went up 2 spots in the playoffs. But no, Tennessee won an ugly one against Maryland. The first half, I watched the game after. I watched most of the highlights, a long highlight video. And Tennessee's defense in the first half was swarming Maryland. Maryland made 3 shots in the first half. 3? Oh, Tennessee was just double teaming everything, getting losses, getting transition, and they dominated that first half. They looked really good. Again, this defense is the best defense in the nation. And then the second half, their offense was just, God, it was disgusting. They could not make a shot. They were just dry, and Maryland came back on them and got it to a tie game. Maybe they might have had a lead, got it real close. And Tennessee just pulled through at the end. Clutch shots. Kai Ziegler off the bench was really their best player. And him versus Jameer Young, that match was very interesting. It was pretty awesome, honestly. 2 guards going at it, talking trash. Jameer Young was really just a leader. He's the one that creates the shots for Maryland, and Dante Scott's good too off the catch. Gets to the rim, but they don't have a lot of dynamic scores, and Jameer Young's really the guy with the ball in their hand most of the time. Maryland's now lost 2 in a row. They got a game against their next game against UCLA. If they lose that one 3 in a row, it'd be tough. We'll see if they can. Maryland needs it against UCLA. Both those teams need a big win. And then the other one was Wisconsin, Iowa. Wisconsin keeps getting the job done. I've said this now for a while. Wisconsin keeps winning. They find a way to win. Iowa, I know. No Chris Murray. Tough. This game goes in OT, and Wisconsin pulls out a nail biter. They kept going down low. And I think no Chris Murray really hurt Iowa's defense. They didn't really have that dominant big because Tyler Wall, Crowd, they all just kept going up with this low host scoring. They build that Wisconsin keeps building the resume they want, and that's a huge win for Wisconsin. This team right now, again, they went to the poll. They keep winning. They keep finding a way to do it. Iowa goes with a 1-2 week, a very hard week. I think they'll be happy with one win. This team isn't bad. They need Chris Murray back if they want to, keep improving and be a real team in the Big Ten, because this Big Ten is just so tightly packed with all these teams. And the new AP poll dropped today. This is how we're going to kind of finish. Then we'll go over some games maybe on Monday. But yes, the new AP poll came out. And I'm a little surprised because what they've done this year really was they had one real order these last 2 weeks. And when the team loses, they'll just drop them and put the next team up. But this year they did after Houston lost, we knew they weren't going to be number one. After Texas lost, they weren't going to be number one. So I just assumed that Virginia would just move up. No, they decide to move Purdue up 3 spots, which I'm not mad at. I think Purdue has a better resume than Virginia. Honestly, I think Virginia's the 3rd best team in the country. I think UConn's better. I think UConn's the best team in the country, in my opinion. But they put Virginia up 2. I'm fine with that. Just a little surprised. Purdue has been looked really good. They did struggle against Nebraska. Virginia, next game against Houston on Saturday. Must-watch game. Excited. UConn looked really good. Alabama actually moves up to 4 above Houston, so I was right on that. And that's really good. Alabama has 1 loss to UConn. That's why I'm saying UConn should be higher. UConn blew out Alabama, and they're only 3. Tennessee was up to 6, and they're above Kansas because they beat Kansas, so I agree. Some people have that different, but I think Kansas and Tennessee is really close. But since Tennessee beat Kansas, they probably should be above. Texas falls to 7. The thing about Chris Beard came out today. I don't know what that means because they play tonight, I'm pretty sure, against Rice. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if he's going to be in the sideline. I'm guessing not. But I'm pretty sure that stuff will come out more about that. I haven't looked too deeply into that. Arizona only goes up to 9. I find that a little underrated in my opinion. Arizona's real good. Arkansas drops a little bit. I just think that's natural since Arizona got a huge win. Baylor's still there. Duke's back up to 12. Kentucky's back up. Indiana really doesn't fall. They don't fall. Because again, that loss, it's an understandable loss. That Arizona team's really good. Gonzaga just keeps moving up. Gonzaga's just gonna keep moving up throughout this year. They're probably gonna finish with 4 or 5 losses for the regular season, and they'll be on that 2-3 line, I assume. UCLA again, game against Maryland. They're up to 16. Mississippi State still undefeated. They're up to 17 rankings. We'll see when they get their first loss. This team is very underrated. I think they need more national attention because I haven't talked about them either because they haven't played really any notable games of recent, but they're still really good. Illinois drops after going 1-1 in the week. They drop in the rankings after beating Texas, which is crazy. They beat the number 2 team in the country at the time and then drop in the rankings that week because they just look terrible at home against Penn State. Auburn drops to 19. A lot of people have them going out of the rankings completely, which I can understand because they really don't have any great wins, and they got blown out to Memphis. Maryland, after losing 2 games, drops to 20. Understandable. TCU still there. And then Wisconsin moves up all the way to 22 after not being in the rankings. Again, they keep winning. I like this Wisconsin team. They got a lot of heart. Ohio State is still there. The Big Ten is just really close because look at all these teams from 18 to 23. You have Illinois, Maryland, Wisconsin, Ohio State. Then you have Iowa, and then you have Rutgers, who took a weird L to Seton Hall. And then, of course, Michigan State, who's been really up and down the season. Michigan's still there. This Big Ten is just Penn State. So many decent, good teams in the Big Ten, and then the 2 ACC teams, Virginia Tech, Miami. I think Miami should be up near Mississippi State, in my opinion. But that's nothing too crazy or outlandish, I would say, about the rankings. Again, I was surprised that Purdue did get moved up, but I'm not like fuming about it. So today we do have the Creighton Arizona State game. Creighton's -3 in Vegas. This is a big test for the Blue Jays after losing 4 in a row. Arizona State's 9-1. We'll see if Coach Hurley can, lead the team to 10-1. And if they win this game, they're going to be tracking to be ranked in the next couple weeks. But that's really the only even real notable game on Monday. And then I'm going through the Tuesday games, looking for anything interesting. Florida State gets to get their third win. They did beat Louisville. We'll get to that. And then Memphis. Okay, Memphis against Alabama at 9 is the good game on Tuesday. Memphis coming off a big win. And Alabama coming off against a big win. This is home against Alabama. If Memphis can win this really solidifies themselves as the second best team in the American and a real ranked team. And Alabama trying to get another good win added to their resume and submit themselves as a contender to win a national championship. And then, completing this episode, really, I just got to say two things. Cal, Louisville, you both suck. That's all I got to say. You both suck. I won't be here. I mark my words. I will not talk about Louisville until they win a game. Cal, I honestly don't give a shit about Cal in the first place. I don't even care. If they had 2 wins or 3 wins, I still wouldn't care. It's Cal basketball. Just saying. Louisville, this is embarrassing. Hashtag fire Kenny Payne. Thank you guys for watching this episode of College Basketball Talk. Peace out.